So today I have here a tea with lemon, ginger, and honey because as you can hear, I have no voice. I've got the flu. So this is going to be a fun video. So hello, my name is Aster, and on this channel, with usually a better voice, we talk about independent spirituality and folk magic for free spirits. My god, my voice is terrible, but we keep going. The other day, like some time ago, my god, I'm so sorry for my voice. I really tried to wait until my voice would be better, but I can't. I had to film to send the video for my editor. So anyway, here we go. Some time ago, I've made a video ranking magical tools. Like, do you really need all of those things? It was according to my opinion, my personal experience and everything. So today we are going to do something a little bit similar, but with books, with witchcraft books. We are going to analyze several different titles within the categories that I have created here. I have read all of those books, or at least I have started all of them, except for the books that I am going to put in the TBR category. Those are books that are to be read. I haven't read them already, but everything here will be according to my personal opinion and my impressions on the books that are chosen for the list, okay? If there are any books that you thought should have been listed here, don't hesitate to leave your thoughts in the comment section below, okay? Wait a minute. Before we start, let's take a minute to hear a word from today's sponsor, which is myself. Did you know that I have opened a store? Yeah, that's right. Over there you can find all my ebooks that contain some juicy bits of occult knowledge that I share, and you don't want to miss out on that. And also private readings that combine tarot and Lenormand cards, as you already know them, with some extra spice of Afro-Brazilian knowledge. But the best part is that the products on the store start at only $3. Oh, and by the way, if you didn't know, I'm also on Patreon. And over there, I share extra exclusive content like spell tutorials, behind the scenes of my life, exclusive Patreon videos, unfiltered book reviews, weekly readings, and much, much more for only 1 cup of coffee per month. So if you like what I do on the internet and would like to support my work somehow, check out the links in the description to take a look at everything that I offer. Now, with that being said, let's get back to the video. Without any further ado, let's dive right in. Let's start. And let me drink some more tea because things here are complicated today. Oh, I'm gonna add another book. 1 second. Okay, I am satisfied with all the books, all the titles that I have put in here. We are ready to start. I basically have all the books all around me on my bed. This is going to be a lot of fun. It's always fun to talk books. So, we are going to start in the order that the books are displayed here on my ranking thing. And the first one is A Broom at Midnight. This book talks about 13 Gates of Witchcraft by Spirit Flight. So it's all about astral projection, meditation, path working, those kinds of meditative travels, let's put it that way. I find the topic fascinating and very interesting, and I want to learn more ways, more methods with which I can, you know, get around the spiritual realms, you see. And I believe that this book gives, as it says, 13 different ways that you can do that. So this is a book that I want to read, and it goes in the TBR list. Next up we have Conversation with Plants. So herbal magic, plants, herbs, they are very present in my practice. It's a big part of everything that I do. And this book seemed to me like something very interesting because my mom usually says that plants are our best friends and you will never regret having a conversation with a plant. If you have a secret, if you are struggling through something, instead of, I don't know, of course that it is always good to talk to a friend, to feel that you are exchanging with somebody, but plants, they will always be neutral. The plant is not gonna tell anybody, the plant is not gonna judge you, the plant will just listen, and sometimes that's all we need. We just need to feel listened to. So Conversation with Plants is a book that I'm also very interested in reading, and even though it's not about witchcraft, considering that I grow plants at home myself and herbal is so present in my practice, and my mom is also a green thumb, it's really within the family, this plant thing. I think that this book would add a lot, so this is another one that goes into my TBR. And it could also go in the list of unrelated but useful, but because I haven't read it already, I can't really tell if that would be the case for this book. Next up we have Consorting with Spirits by Jason Miller. I've read this book a while ago. There's a review on the channel, you can check it out up in the cards or down in the description in case you haven't seen it already. And this book is amazing. I had a great time reading it. I have tried some of the things that are taught in here. I had a great time with this book. Jason Miller is hands down my favorite occult author. I've read many of his books and this is one of my favorites. So where would I put this book in the rank? I'm gonna change the color of this little one here because we can't really read what it says. Yeah, that's better. So I would say that it goes in a classic. I mean, if you want to know more about spirit work in a relatable manner and with things that you can actually do, this is the book that you want. It's not for beginners, I have to say, but it is very useful. If you want a book for beginners, there's a book called simply Spirit Work. I have reviewed it on the channel also. I'm gonna link it up in the cards and down in the description. That's a book for beginners. It's by Syrian Shadow. But this one is like if you have already started, you know, tapping around that realm and you want to find out more, here you go. You want to go deeper, you go with Jason Miller. Next one is also by Jason Miller. It's The Elements of Spellcrafting. Where did I put it? Where did I put it? This book, I believe, did I make a review about this book? I think I haven't, but it is definitely listed on my video of book recommendation for beginners. It's also gonna be linked in the cards and down in the description. I have talked about this book in a video of the channel for sure. I just don't remember which one. But this book is extremely useful. So basically it talks about 21 keys to successful sorcery. So 21 things, 21 steps to keep in mind when you are putting together a spell or a ritual. I have even like tagged all the pink ones here on the side are one of those keys, and it's just brilliant. You know, let's see an example. Key 11, you are a spirit too. Sometimes we forget about that. Let's see another key. Key 7, emergency magic is bad magic. So another one, let's see. And each key comes with a like doodle like this. Key 6, make skillful statements of intent. And then in the next pages, he develops on that idea. So this book is extremely useful, and I would say that every beginner needs to read this. So I would put it in the beginner pack for sure. Next one is the Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs by Scott Cunningham. Scott Cunningham's books, to me personally, they feel like a hug. They feel like reading a letter from a friend, you know. I really like how he writes. This book is, as the title indicates, it talks about several different plants and its magical properties, how you could use them. There's some missing information. This book is not, I mean, perfect, but it is a classic. I'm gonna put it in a classic. It is something that basically everybody has on their shelves. Every practitioner has this book. Almost every practitioner, I would say. And, you know, cross-reference with other books that you have, but this is a very solid beginner. I mean, this is a very solid beginning if you want to have a foundation about how to use your plants and your herbs, okay? Winter is being cruel on Granny over here. Yeah, so a classic. Next one will be, wait, I haven't gotten this one, I think. I need to pick it up. So next one on the list is the Encyclopedia of Herbal Medicine, 550 Herbs and Remedies for Common Ailments. This book, it is huge and I love it. It has beautiful pictures of the plants and it's so complete. It's so detailed. It has a lot of information. It is beautiful and so useful. I refer to it all the time, especially when I'm sick. So yeah, this book is amazing. There's also some history at the beginning. Yeah, just highly recommended. So this book has nothing to do with witchcraft, obviously, but I would say that it goes into unrelated but useful, because if you read an entry about a plant here, you can have an understanding of some of its traditional uses in medicine all over the world, and you could make a correspondence, a relationship with a magical intention based on that, you see. Next up, we have Gallery of Magic books. If you don't know, I picked up this one about magical servitors. If you don't know about Gallery of Magic is a collection of several different titles talking about many different topics within magic. There's protection, there's angels, there's demons, there's wealth, money, success. There's a little bit of everything. It is very vast information, but presented in a solid manner. You see, it is something that you can trust, in my opinion. Usually the books, they are short. It's very like straight to the point. They're not trying to flourish and go on forever about a topic. It's nice. I mean, it's a little bit too ceremonial sometimes, so it's not gonna be for everybody, but there's definitely some very useful information in the Gallery of Magic, I'm sorry, in the books by the Gallery of Magic. The authors, they are anonymous because they don't want to, you know, have this interfere with their personal life, I guess, but it is useful stuff that you can trust. So I have chosen 2 covers to put here on the list because I want to put the Gallery of Magic books in 2 categories. I am going to put them in underrated because there aren't many people talking about the books of Gallery of Magic, and I do believe that they deserve more recognition because they are really useful. And what else? I would also put them in not really my cup of tea because things get very ceremonial for my liking. There are things in here that you have to perform throughout several weeks, several days, and that's not something that really works for me, that goes well within my personal practice. So I'm putting it there, not my cup of tea, not because I don't like the content. That's absolutely not the case. I think the books are good. It's not just for me, you see? I think I phrased it a little bit weird. It's just that I don't feel it is for me, if that makes sense. But I am here recommending it. Gallery of Magic, very good books, okay? They can serve and help many other people out there for sure. The next one is a book that I don't have a physical copy of. I've read it on my Kobo, and it's Honoring Your Ancestors by Mallory Vaudoise. This book, I believe I would put in the beginner pack because it's a book that can be very useful for people who are people who want to start with spirit work and they don't know how to or where to start. You should start with your ancestors. And also this is introductory book. It is an introduction for how to start your ancestor veneration practice. You get that information, you go through it, you understand, you put it to practice, and you take it from there, you see? I've read that book and I have used a few things from there, a few rituals, a few tips, and I do believe it is very helpful, especially for the beginner who wants whether to start spirit work or to start ancestor work. It would be very useful for a beginner for sure. Next up we have Jambalaya by Louisa Tish, or Jambalaya, not sure how to pronounce it. I've done a review about this book on the channel. It's going to be linked up in the cards and and down in the description. And this is a wonderful book from a Black woman to Black women. It is very relatable. It really hits home if you are a person of color, especially if you are a woman of color. So in my opinion, this is a big time classic. Any person of color, any practitioner of color should definitely get this book and give it a read. Doesn't matter if you are a man or if you identify as a man. This book could still communicate a lot to you. And of course, there's a lot of African heritage in here, spiritual African heritage. So here you go. For Black representation within spirituality, this is the book you're looking for. And like, this book has been around for more than 30 years and it continues to be relevant and to be useful. So if a book has been selling for decades like that and people are still enjoying it, first of all, it is a classic, and second, you should definitely check it out. Next up, we have Moon Spells. Moon Spells. It's a very near and dear book to my heart. It was the first magic book that I've ever read by Diane Alquist. There's a review on the channel. It's gonna be linked up here and down in the description. I'm not sure about the cards because on the cards usually we can link up to 5 videos and I have mentioned many books already, so I'm not sure. I don't think there's gonna be space for all of that in the cards, but in the description you will be able to find my reviews if you want to watch them. And by the way, everything that I am going to mention here as books is going to be linked down in the description if you want to buy them, okay? So Moon Spells, I think I would put it in the beginner pack because if you are starting out, you're not really sure how to harness energies of planets, and if you go and try to understand all the planets at once, it can be overwhelming or confusing. So if you start only with one astro, like the moon, it could be a little bit easier and like a smaller dose for you to digest. And this book is so complete when it comes to using moon energy. It explains all about the phases of the moon, how to use them, and there's some spells in the back of the book that you can use with the energy of the moon. I have done some spells from here. They were very helpful, very useful to me, and I'm pretty sure it would be useful or helpful to you as well, especially for beginners. I really like how this author, how she integrates her personal experiences, and it's not like she's talking down to the reader. It's like a leveled conversation. I really appreciate this book and I recommend it to like any beginner. Next up we have Of Blood and Bones, which was like one of the latest book reviews that I have published on the channel. Of Blood and Bones by Kate Frowler. This is an amazing book. I had such a good time. I loved it. I've used things from this book. Where would I place it? I would put it in a classic. Hear me out. I know this is a recent book. It's not that old. It's not that dated. When was it published? 2022. So there's like 2 years. It's very recent if we think about it. Excuse me. But this book is so refreshing when it comes to its contents. It's so groundbreaking when it comes to poking the taboo and speaking about it without reservations, that I think that very few occult authors did what Kate was able to do with this book. Therefore, in my opinion, it deserves to be in the classic tier. It's a book that we don't come by. Like, I mean, this type of text, it's not the average everyday witchcraft book. It is really a breath of fresh air, and it's relatable, it's accessible, it's responsible and educated in the themes that she talks about. So I really like this book and I recommend it, even though I don't really think should it be for beginners? Should beginners read this? Yeah, why not? I think so. I wouldn't say it's the first book you should pick up, but I don't think you should wait years before you pick up this book. A beginner can totally read it. If you already have like a general understanding of magic, yeah, you can go ahead and read this book for sure and start putting to practice a few of the things that are in here. Next up we have Protection and Reversal Magic by Jason Miller. This book, guys, this book was so cool. I had such a great time with this book. It was in the period in which I was dealing with a haunting in my floor, on the floor of where my apartment was. So after trying everything I could, I've read this book and I found a solution in here to like deal with the situation that was happening to me. So where would I place this book? I think I would place it in the beginner pack because protection is something fundamental that you need to have an understanding of from the get-go. So if you are a beginner and you want a protection magic book, this is a great one. So here we go. I don't think I've done a review of that one though. Now, next up we have Psychic Witch by Matt Oren. Psychic Witch, you guys. I haven't done a review of Psychic Witch because so many people have done it already. Maybe one day I will, but not for the time being. I think I would place it in a classic. It could very well go at the beginner pack because this is like a metaphysical guide to meditation, magic, and manifestation. So it is a book that is very useful for the beginner. There's a lot of stuff here that like nobody teaches you how to do in other books, like centering, grounding, those kinds of elemental basic things. And in here, the author, teaches you how to do those things. So it's very useful for a beginner, but this book is so unique in what it tries to do, and it does it so exquisitely that I do believe that it deserves a place in the classic tier. I think that very few occult authors were able to tackle those first steps into magic in such a digestible way, in such an easy way. And the best part are the activities, the exercises proposed throughout the book, so you can read and learn and practice as you go. This book is very complete, and again, every beginner should read it, but it has become it is a success of sales, and it has become a classic of its time, in my opinion. Next up we have The Body Keeps the Score. This is another book that I don't have a physical copy of because I read it on my Kobo. It is a psychology/science book. Very, very extremely interesting. On the Kobo at least, it has like 800 pages, so I take my time reading through it. I would put it in unrelated but useful. The Body Keeps the Score talks about how trauma influences and causes impact on the mind and on the physical body. So when it comes to understanding your family tree, your ancestry, the drama and the problems that have happened in your family, family secrets, toxic dynamics, stuff that has happened in the past of your family, and how trauma can impact a person and also the people who grow around that traumatized person, how trauma can be passed down through generations and all. This is a very good book to be used as an ally for understanding things beside your ancestor veneration practice. I think it really puts things into perspective and helps you understand better the people that came before you. It's the information that they didn't have access to, but you do, you see? Next up we have The Herbal Alchemist's Handbook by Karen Harrison. This little cutie here. It is a complete guide to magical herbs and how to use them. This book I would definitely put, finally, a book in the toolbox, because this is the type of book that you're not gonna read cover to cover. You see, it's not a text that you're going to use like that, but it's more like a consultation book. I have marked everything here, so I can go to the planetary influences of the herbs. I can go to the recipes. I can go to, I don't know, tutorials that they have in here. I can go specifically to something like the astrological influences, so on, so forth. So this is a book that you pick up to consult information and to cross-reference. So it's more like a tool kind of thing. It's a helper to choose your herbs and put together a spell, rather than a book that you're gonna read like everything, you see? Next up we have The Poison Path Herbal. which is this little one here. This one goes on my TBR. It goes on my TBR list because, I mean, I am very interested in plants, and I do have, like it says, Baneful Herbs, Medicinal Nightshades, and Ritual Entheogens by Colby Michael. I have quite a few toxic / poisonous plants around the house, and I would like to have a deeper understanding of the poison path. I find it interesting, even though it can be a little bit dangerous, so you have to be careful and pay attention, especially like handling the plants. But the poison path is something that interests me, so this is a book that I hope to come around reading soon. Next up, we have the Essential Tincture Recipe book. Take control of your health with 110 time-tested herbal remedies you can make at home for common ailments by Spencer Yates? I don't know, but oh my god, my throat, my god. This book I would also put in the category of unrelated but useful for the same reason of the Encyclopedia of Medicinal Herbs, because here you can have a little bit of historical background and how plants have been used for what purpose. Also, you learn how to make tinctures, which are very nice remedies to have around. It is definitely something that would add some bits of information to your practice if you use plants and herbs, and yeah, it would be very useful to add up some knowledge that you can cross over into magical purposes. Next up, we have Urban Magic. I don't have a physical copy of this book because I gave it away, and it is a book that I would put in not my cup of tea. I've read that book when I was living in Paris. I was obviously in a very urban environment, and I didn't feel that the book really communicated with me. I think there's a lot of useful information in there and interesting ideas, things that you can definitely apply if you live in an urban setting, but it was just not for me. I didn't vibe with the book, but it could be useful for other people. Next up, we have Utterly Wicked by Dorothy Morrison. Hexes, Curses, and Other Unsavory Notions. This is a book that talks about baneful magic, and I am going to actually film a review of this book right after this video. I really like this book. If I would put it in a category, I'm in doubt. This book has been around for a while. It talks about an important topic in a way that nobody else has done. I haven't seen it, at least. So I think I'm gonna put it in a classic. I'm not gonna talk much about this book in here because I will film a review soon, but I do believe that Dorothy did a great job in how she addressed hexes, baneful magic in general, in this book, and a few people have done something similar. I really like it when authors talk about delicate topics, things that most of the people are trying to avoid or trying to pretend that doesn't exist, you know? So next up, we have The Voodoo Doll Spell Book by Denise Alvarado, a compendium of ancient and contemporary spells and rituals. So the name could be seen as something a little bit problematic, but I understand where the author is coming from with this title. I mean, if you write a book, you want it to sell, and this is the type of words that people will be searching on the internet, so the book can be found easier. I totally get it. It's not really an issue for me. I would say that this goes in the toolbox category because it's also not the type of book that you are going to read from cover to cover. You're just gonna take a look at the table of contents, see what kind of intention you are looking for, what kind of thing you plan on doing, what kind of energy, what kind of spell you are needing at the moment, and you are going to go to the given page, check out how it's done, the ingredients and all. You are going to adapt it. You are going to see what you have and how you can perform the spell, and you're gonna do it. You're not gonna read it cover to cover. So this is a toolbox material. And by the way, puppet magic is not only done for harm, okay? There's a lot of spells in here for prosperity, for abundance, for love, for luck, okay? So it's not only meant to do harm to others, all right? Next up, we have Walking the Twilight Path, A Gothic Book of the Dead by Michelle Bellinger. This definitely goes in my TBR list because I am very interested in death work, spirit work, that kind of thing. I really like to go to cemeteries and to connect with spirits, that kind of practice. So this book talks exactly about being a regular visitor of a cemetery, how exactly you can harness that energy, things you can do in a cemetery, how to go about it, so on, so forth. So it seems to me that this book talks exactly about working with the dead, spirits of the dead, that kind of thing, and I am very interested. So this is a book that I want to read a lot. Next up we have Year of the Witch by Temperance Alden, connecting with nature's seasons through intuitive magic. I think this book is adorable, and it's like the most complete book that we have out there about the wheel of the year, which are like the Sabbaths and the witch festivals that we have throughout the year. The research about each of the Sabbaths is really complete, is really in depth, it goes really far back, and it's also nice that at the end she teaches how you can arrange yourself if you're not in the northern hemisphere, meaning that like how do you use the wheel of the year if your seasons don't work the same way as they do in the north of the planet. So this is an adorable book with very well researched information. I think I would put it in underrated, or no, I would put it in toolbox, because for the people who follow the wheel of the year, this book is going to be very useful with all the information and also ideas for spells and rituals that you can perform during a certain time of the year, a certain season, a certain Sabbath. So toolbox material. Next up we have Wicca, a guide for the solitary practitioner by Scott Cunningham. This was also one of the books, one of the first books that I've read on magic. I've never been Wiccan, but because I have always been a solitary practitioner, I did want to check it out and take a look. And it is Scott Cunningham's writing is just so cozy. I have such a good time. I really like it. I think I would put it in classic. It is a classic, and even if you're not Wiccan, you're not thinking about becoming Wiccan or anything, I think you can find some interesting information in here that you can apply in your personal practice as well. Next up we have another adorable book, which is The Witch's Book of Self-Care by Erin Murphy Hiscock. Magical ways to pamper, soothe, and care for your body and spirit. This book, first of all, is super cute, and second, it's all about taking care of yourself, making yourself feel good about who you are, really taking care of you. And I think that oftentimes we forget to do precisely that. We forget to give ourselves the pampering that she talks about on the cover. And here there are meditations, there are visualizations, there are even recipes for stuff that you can use on your body, things that you can eat. It's all about self-care and putting yourself first, giving yourself a little bit of a spa day and getting your mind back on track, on the right place, you see? So where could I put it? I think I'm gonna put it in underrated because I've never seen anybody talking about this book anywhere, and I do believe that self-care is important and this book could be helpful for some people out there. And last but not least, we have A Guide to Shadow Work, a workbook to explore your hidden self by Stephanie Kirby. First of all, this book is beautiful inside, and it's all full of exercises that you can do in order to better understand your shadow. This book is so beautiful. If you are struggling or unsure about how to do shadow work, this could be useful to you, and I definitely recommend it. All the exercises are really nice, and here you go. So I would put it also in underrated because I've never seen anyone talking about this book either, and it can be extremely useful for some people out there who are not really sure how to do shadow work. I do have a video talking about shadow other work. But yeah, I also recommend this book. So here we have it. Here we have our ranking of witchcraft books, witchcraft knowledge, occult knowledge. I hope that you have discovered a few books in this video, and maybe something that you haven't heard before could end up being very useful to you. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, practice makes perfect. So let's go witching. Bye bye.